Okay, good evening. Haiti Oropesa with Michelle Williams, and I'm so excited. And look at her looking all beautiful as always. You look amazing.
Thank you, Haiti. Thank
You
you,
do.
thank you, thank you. I'm super excited
It's
about
just a
this.
Florida You Judge broadcast. My gosh, it's like you prepared like you're gonna receive an Academy Award.
Hey, look, when you just went live, it just went live on YouTube everywhere.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it just popped up on my YouTube.
Cool. So, have you shared it on your
Yes,
platforms?
it's shared.
Thank
Okay.
you for those who are tuning in. I'm feeling slightly under the weather, but I need not worry because Michelle Williams will be at the helm for the most part. And this evening, as you can see, we have on our screen a call-in number. The reason why this um is called Florida You Judge is because we want to hear from you. We're going to be providing information and we want to hear from you. So there's a call-in number 813-221-9700 for you to call. We're going to be talking a little bit about about everything the recently occurring. Breonna Taylor is a case that is still today. I just Googled Breonna Taylor. I've been reading a lot about this case, and they're still developing information. News articles today released about leaked camera, body cam footage. And so we're gonna do a video share soon, and so that you can see for yourself all the new released articles, headlines. But we want to get a little bit into the facts and then touch upon a little bit about the AG out in Kentucky and what he advised the public about why the officers were not going to be charged in the death of Breonna Taylor. One of them did get indicted um for shooting in violation of the departmental policies. He was indicted for a wanton endangerment because he showed an indifference to the value of human life for shooting in without out of line of sight. So how are you doing? And please go ahead and address your audience and the audience, Michelle.
I just want to say thank you so much to everyone, to all the viewers that's tuning in tonight on this episode of Florida You Judge with criminal defense attorney Haiti Oda and myself, Tampa activist and socialite Michelle Williams over here in Hillsborough County. Just as Haiti just said, we're going to be recapping some of our commentated opinions regarding Breonna Taylor this evening, and I'm also going to be addressing some tomfoolery that's going on with convicted felons who are receiving mail in the mail that looks like this. Uh, I'm sorry, I meant to blot out my address so you guys can see what's going on. You guys know that I told the public years ago. What I'm saying, in 2012, I was arrested for selling my own home in the state of Florida. 2012, I was arrested in the state of Florida for selling my own home and was convicted as a felon for selling my home at that time. So I'm still fighting my case right now. Almost 10 years later, I'm still fighting my case. So I'm ineligible to vote. But what I received in the mail was this. It's from the voter registration participation center up in Tallahassee, Florida, where all of everything goes down. So you know me, I opened this up. I opened the mail up. I'm sorry, guys. It comes with that little sticky stuff on it, so it's stuck again. And so here it is again. They sent me this application and blotted my address. They sent me this application where they want me to go ahead and fill out this voter registration, to be able to vote. Now, convicted felons, are not allowed to vote. I'm still on probation for selling my own home in Tampa, Florida, but they want me to register to vote, which is illegal. So this is the issue that I have this evening because I'm not the only one. Thousands of people across the state of Florida have been receiving this mail in the mail. They've been receiving the same very application in the mail regarding them being a convicted felon, still on some form of federal probation or state probation or some type of felony probation, and they're being given this. And I'm telling them, whatever you do, do not, please do not fill out that application, and please do not mail it in, because you will go to jail. It is a felony for you to register as a felon, and it's a felony for you to vote as a felon. Do not whatever you do not participate in this type of foolishness. I'm getting down to the bottom of this, and this is why Haiti and I have collaborated this evening for this evening's show, so we can say, felons all over the state of Florida have been contacting me, Haiti, regarding this very same application. This very same application. So tonight, if you have any questions, if you know someone, whether it's you or a family or a loved one or a friend, please call in 813-221-9700. That's this evening's call-in number. You can speak directly to a criminal defense attorney, Haiti or the Presser, or you can speak to me, the big mouth of the South, baby, Queen Michelle, honey. You can talk to me this evening so we can get together.
You know what though? Maybe they sent you the application, so that if in the event that you restore your rights, because there are people now that are paying their fines, right? And whatnot, and applying, and then they're eligible under the amendment that passed in 2018, which you're very familiar with. You were involved in that
Amendment
effort.
4, yeah.
You were.
Amendment
So
4, yeah.
maybe that's why they sent it to you, in hopes that maybe you can be um able to register.
Well, I sent an email over to my probation officer, and I'm just like, hey, I scanned it. I'm just like, do you know anything about this? Has something happened that I don't know, and you just ain't telling me, because I haven't seen you in a while.
Because Bloomberg's giving money,
$32 million.
and now they're investigating them. So when the people of Florida, the required percentage says, yes, we want this. We want felons who've paid their debt to society to be able to vote as citizens, right? As they're called, returning citizens.
Right.
And then that passes. Then all of a sudden, we have a group of people who aren't down with that. So what do? They put an obstacle and say, well, no, yeah, okay, you can vote, but first you have to pay your fines. Okay.
Which
But
is
I don't know
basically
that
a
that's
poll tax. It's just a poll tax. And it's ridiculous that we have to pay to vote. And we know who this is. We know that this should be the most obsolete law that is on the book. But again, who is it plaguing? When they saw that Desmond Mean, you know what I'm saying, the founder of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition and Amendment 4, the you know what I'm saying, he spearheaded the Amendment 4. When this young man spearheaded this amendment and took it all the way to the Florida Supreme Court, took it all the way to the U.S. Supreme, and they said, you cannot do this. And then all of a sudden now they say, well, we got to find. The problem was that so many of the 1.4 million felons who are returning citizens, they were registering as Democrats. They saw that as a problem. This is a game. This is a political ploy. It's a political game, and we have to understand the way the game is played. Either if you're trying to play checkers because you're trying to be the king or the queen, you need to step aside. Because when we play chess, that means that we eliminate things. If you all didn't get an opportunity to watch last night's episode of 60 Minutes, you need to go back and go on Google and Google 60 Minutes from last night and take a look at it. That story that they did was phenomenal. I'm telling you, it was drop dead. Well put together, well orchestrated. I just absolutely loved it.
all right. We got a caller. So go ahead, caller.
Thank you so much for calling for you, Judge.
Hi, my name is Aisha. I was convicted in 1992. I finished my probation in 96. In 2010, I tried to get a clemency, tried to restore the clemency. I kept being denied. I think right before Obama became president, when he became president, I received a voter registration card saying I can go to vote. Okay, so I voted. In 2018, I was sent jury duty. It tightened me because I'm like, okay, I know I haven't received anything saying I can vote or be on the clemency. I mean, on the jury duty. So I got in contact with Desmond. He told me, hey, look, you need to get in contact with your local voters person, and I did. They told me, oh no, you're not supposed to be voting. You're not supposed to be doing this. Okay, so I won't. Turn around this year, just got my voter registration mail in ballot in 2 days ago.
Okay, thank you for your call.
And see, this is it's just like every election cycle is something. Just like Isha just said, it's a proven point. At the time and at the moment when then President Barack Obama was coming into office, she was eligible to vote. As soon as he got out, and now she's trying to do other things. She can't do it. She can't do it. Let me tell you all, to the viewers. Now here it is, guys. I'm a convicted felon. Okay. And you know why? You know why I say that with a smile? Because I sold my house and the state of Florida convicted me for selling my own home that I owned. That I own. I outright legally own this home. Florida real estate contract, bought it from the original owner, owned this home. But under the former state attorney, Mark Ober, I was convicted as a felon for selling my house. Okay? Listen to what they did. Here it is. I've been on probation since 2013. They gave me 15 years probation for selling my home. But all of a sudden, just a few short months ago, I got a jury summons. I went over to the courthouse, had to stand in line for like 45 minutes just to get through the front door of where they have the jury pool at. I get in there. So they say, if you feel that you're ineligible to be a juror, I go over there. So I go over to the clerk and I say, here's the jury summons, which I still have as evidence. Here's the jury summons. How am I able to come in here and be picked for jury duty when I've been a convicted felon for the last 7 years? So the guy said, excuse me? He says, oh, maybe we went by your driver's license. How? When you pull up my driver's license number, it say convicted felon. So somebody is making some very, very grievous errors over at the clerk of the circuit court. And these are issues and concerns that we need to be talking about, because somebody is going to slip through the crack. Somebody is going to get arrested because their vote is going to be purged. Their vote is going to be purged. And now I guarantee you, to all of my fans, my followers, and the viewers right now, Florida You Judge, we are going to have voters that are going to be purged, who are going to be arrested, and they're going to be convicted for registering to vote and for voting as being a felon. Mark my words. Mark my words on this 28th day of September. Mark
These
my
are
words.
good issues and questions for the supervisor of elections.
You're right. It is. And I want to know what Craig Latimer, because Craig Latimer is our supervisor of election for Hillsborough County. And I actually want to know what Mr. Latimer is going to do to address this. I mean, like, we have 34 days before the national election on November the 3rd.
And then you can also ask the newly elected clerk of court, Cindy Stewart, what they're going to do in order to not waste people's time in coming out to the courthouse when they're ineligible to serve as jurors.
Haiti, I'm telling you, my dear friend and sister, when you swipe my driver's license, the police can see everything. When you were arrested, what you were arrested for, if you're on probation, where you live. This is what I understand.
It's a waste of time to send in people, bring in people that are ineligible. It's just a waste. So
well, maybe
they got to fix that.
Our next Florida You Judge, we need to be sitting down with Cindy Stewart and say, hey, look, we have these issues right now, and I have the proof. I just received thank you, Gary Dogen, for that. Thank you, my dear friend. I just received that jury summons. That's what I understand.
Well, there you go. So I didn't know that. Michael Bloomberg is helping pay court costs and fines for convicted felons who have completed their sentence if their fines are less than 1,500. So you know what? Just to get back to that momentarily, remember we started off with there's this huge effort. It's monumental, actually. Not a lot of people do that. What Desmond Meade did, along with everyone that jumped on board in helping him in his efforts to achieve something so monumental, and then to have an obstacle thrown in their way saying, but you got to pay your fines. Okay, when they challenged that, and there seemed to be some disagreement, there was a judge that said no, that it was the equivalent of a poll tax. That then it got appealed. The 11th Circuit said no, you do have to pay. Okay, very well. So then now Michael Bloomberg is offering to be benevolent with his money to help people be able to vote, and now they're investigating him criminally to see if he did something criminal.
Donating $32 million and you're a billionaire and you can't give money to the poor so they can have an opportunity
Yes,
to
tell it.
exercise their civil and constitutional right by
Right.
being able to vote. And we have to understand who this is affecting. This is vastly affecting Black and brown poor citizens of the state of Florida.
That's
this
correct.
this this is We got to call a spade this evening. This is disenfranchisement of the Black and brown citizens of the state of Florida and the poor people, because they're registering as Democrats. They're registering as Democrats, and this is solely the problem, and this is a huge issue. We all know. Let me tell you something. We all know when Barack Obama was president, it's only 13% blacks in America. So when Barack Obama won, you better believe me, he had Republicans that were voting for him.
They're asking. I have a Robert Eckert. He's
Yes,
a great attorney, good friend of mine. He
yes,
asked on his Facebook page a couple of days ago whether who thought it was a crime or not. Most people said they thought it was a crime. I don't believe so. He's giving money assuming that the people that he's giving the groups that he's giving to are going to cast a vote for the Democratic candidate. He doesn't know that for sure. I think it would be a crime if he said, "I'll give you the money if you vote for so and so." That
yeah.
would be buying a vote. But
That's
if you're just giving
exactly.
it without knowing for sure how they're listen, do you think every single black and Latin person is going to vote for Biden? No.
No,
No.
no, no. They're not. I'm
They
sorry,
might
they're
not
not.
vote at all. They're just be thankful that their fines got paid.
Well, not only that, not only that, and that's exactly what I've been saying, Haiti. There are so many people that who their fines and fees have been paid, and they got their rights back. But guess what? They didn't even vote in the primary. Now that's a slap in the face. Now that's a huge slap in the face right there. You got your fines and fees paid, you got the civil rights back, but you didn't even think about voting in the primary.
Yeah.
Where local government is the one that get the laws changed, where the money comes back that's supposed to trickle down to our communities. So that not was only a slap in the organization's face at the FRRC, but it was a huge slap in Mr. Desmond Meade's face. Like, I've been working my butt off for like the last almost 10 years to get this done, and you guys didn't even think enough of, what I'm saying, our efforts and our fight, what I'm saying, to go out and vote. This is horrible.
All right,
It's
let's talk
crazy.
about okay, so here Gary Dolgen is very informative. Andrew Warren has set up a rocket docket where many felons can get their fees waived. This is a partisan issue to keep African Americans from voting. Bloomberg has no conditions. Who's someone votes for? Okay. So let's switch now to because we're going to talk a little bit about everything tonight with recent headlines and what's going on locally. The protest. They
Mhm.
got crazy this weekend. Well, you know what? And DeSantis was got into some heat with Mayor Kreisman for calling the act of approaching some protesters approaching a couple that were dining outside of a restaurant in St. Pete, and just sitting there in the table. So he said he described it as lunatics that do that. So Kreisman took issue with that. We also have the issue of protesters getting hit when there's been some blocking of traffic. You want to comment? I know that you had something to say about that on your wall this weekend. Somebody went to the extreme this weekend of pulling a gun. I believe some of the video footage that I saw this weekend, there were persons that may have been affiliated with white nationalists. One of them I saw pull a gun.
You were there, Haiti, when the guy pulled the
I
gun.
was not there, but I did see one of the uh leaders in the activist community here locally. I did receive a notification that she was live, so I like to see just to make sure that everything is on the up and up and everything's good, copacetic, and if there is something problematic that I can witness it there when it's running live. And so as soon as I jumped on, I know somebody said he's got a gun, and then later on, the press released the footage, and you can actually see a white male pointing a gun to the crowd, and I saw a white. I don't recall her skin color, but a protester was knocked down by that group where the guy that was pointing the gun just boom slammed on the floor, thrown to the floor. So it got violent this weekend. Thoughts? Comments on that?
Well, Haiti, this is something you and I have spoken about in private, and when we talk about issues in the community, we always remain steadfast in God's bosom. And we stand in, on God's principality of the Bibles. So every time that we have a private conversation, we're always trying to bring love, light, and what I'm saying, and God into every conversation that we have amongst ourselves in private. And what you said, that is so true, that you have to be careful. You reminded me in the book of Luke, that we have to be careful of the wages that we rage, the wars that we rage, what I'm saying, because we don't never know the consequences. And this is what is happening across America. People are tired of being sick and tired, and they're out doing something about, they're out raising their voices, they're out with their concerns, but yet still it seems like the racists and the white nationalists in this country, they have an issue with people saying Black Lives Matter, not even understanding or recognizing what Black Lives Matter mean. Black Lives Matter mean, hey, look, stop treating Black people like third class citizens. Stop treating Black people like we do not matter in the United States. And this is something that has to be dealt with. This is something on a national front, that if we don't start having this conversation, this rug that we continue to sweep all of this under, it's going to continue to happen to everyone. Not only is it happening to Black and brown people, but poor whites are being affected by this also, because the economic development that's depriving Blacks is the same economic development that's depriving brown people and poor white people. And this is the substance of the U.S. Constitution that we must start now addressing. We can't afford to not address, and we cannot afford to ignore that Black Lives Matter in the United States.
And we have our governor, Desantis, proposing legislation. One of them is, um, hold on, this I'm trying to find here in the list. Okay, so third degree felony to obstruct traffic during an unpermitted protest, demonstration, or violent or disorderly assembly. Driver is not liable for injury or death caused if fleeing for safety from a mob. Think about that. If that passes, there's people that are gonna run people over and
Run
kill them
people
or injure.
over, alleging, just like the police officers, I was in fear of my life.
That's
Oh,
right.
I thought I saw a gun. Oh, I thought he was reaching for something. So it's going to be the same thing. Oh my God, they were mobbing my car. Oh my God, I was in fear of my life. Oh my God, oh my God. So why should the driver of a vehicle have special immunity? Why? Why? But again, this is along the line, and I'm going to say what I've said to you in private. You must have a permit to obstruct and block a city or county street. If the local government refuses to give you that permit, you can go over their head, because FDOT, the Florida Department of Transportation, any department of transportation in any state has more power than the local government to shut down and block off a street for protesters. If you're going to make a difference by following the law of the land. I don't care who gets mad about my statement. I don't care what you say about me or what you think about me, because I'm stating true state law facts. If you want to obstruct a block off a highway or a city or county road, you must obtain a permit. I've obtained permits. When I want to let my voice be heard, when we marched from downtown Tampa Police Department over to 801 East Twigs, the courthouse here, the George H. Edgecombe Courthouse in Tampa, we obtained a permit from FDOT. It's just a simple application. You pay a tiny fee and you get what you want. Why is that we cannot follow the law of the land and stop thinking that you can do whatever the hell you want to do? Period.
All right. So Pem Pacho, I hope I'm pronouncing that. Said question for Haiti. Can you please tell me where can we file a complaint against a company who does not want to delete the booking photo? We write to the registered agent who published the arrested photograph, and they do not want to get it from the internet, even though we forwarded. I know that's a problem. That's a problem. You can go ahead and I'm going to you can call me tomorrow. We can discuss that. To call me directly. I would have to do some research on that. But I know that in the past that's been a problem. It gets expunged, it gets taken away out of the clerk system, the court systems, the information. But yeah, there's private companies that gather that information, and uh, there might not be anything that could be done about it. But I'll be happy to research that for you. So go ahead and give me a call tomorrow, 813-221-9700. You can call me. Okay, so we also have proposed legislation where they want to have for protesters no bond or bail until first appearance in court if charged with a crime related to participating in a violent or disorderly assembly, rebuttable presumption against bond or bail after first appearance. So think about it. You got to wait till the next morning for protesters.
which is unfair.
It
Did they
already
kill?
has happened. It already happened here in Pinellas. It did. And it was reported on in the news. And so I had something to say as well as some of my colleagues, and that was reported in the news. But that is problematic for me. But this is just the result of some of what we've been seeing. It's a pushback from the governor because some people do get annoyed if they don't have advance notice that there's a particular street that's going to be blocked off. All of a sudden they see themselves there, they just want to go through, they don't want to have to do a UE. And to have people in front of your car blocking or preventing you from going through an area which you should be able to go through, unless, like you said, you have a permit. When you're legally permitted, there could be advance notice to the public. This road is going to be blocked off during this time, this day. You're gonna have to find an alternate route to go. So that, and it's gonna minimize any of or totally eliminate these problems. We don't want people. We want people to protest. We do want to bring attention to racial inequality, police brutality, racial injustice. We want to do that, but we want to avoid people getting hurt. We don't want that. So that's the spirit that we're in. I am on board with. I've even offered my services pro bono to protesters because I like to fight injustice, and I am o- always on board in solidarity with persons who want to bring attention to some of the problems that we see regularly. George Floyd, and now tonight we're going to talk about Breonna Taylor. There's so much information that's been coming out on this story, and just a real quick review. I've been getting up to speed with the facts as much as I have been able to by reading various newspapers to gather as much facts for tonight. We have 30 minutes. Again, the call-in number is 813-221-9700. So there's this no knock warrant that was issued by a judge. Uh, there's an excellent Washington Post article that came out 4 days ago that I'm going to read from. And I think I've never really done that, thoroughly gone through an article, but this is a great article, very informative, incredible analysis. It's just something that I urge you. I'm going to try to read through it. It's a couple of pages, but it's really worth the read, so that we can all become informed about this very important case, because there are a lot of problems with it. And I'm somewhat distrustful with what I've been reading as to what's going on with the investigation. There's a no knock search warrant by a judge signed for Breonna Taylor's apartment. She had dated a gentleman with last name Glover, who had been involved in trafficking, had a criminal history. There was a home far from her apartment where he had been. Two men had been, him being one of them. It was believed that he had been selling drugs from that home. Um, they also, without a real basis, um, presented information so that they could get a warrant for her apartment by saying that Glover at times had received packages there. There's no, from what I've read, that it was very flimsy, if not non-existent. That that warrant was issued based on this assertion that packages of drugs were delivered to Taylor's apartment, but that is why the judge signed that warrant. That's what was asserted. So March 13th, they use a battering ram, the police, to enter Miss Taylor's apartment. She's 26 years old. She's an emergency room tech. It was a night of 1 in the morning. And that's not the most preferable, ideal time to execute a no knock warrant with all the problems that can arise from that. Her and her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, he had a carrying concealed weapon. Decent young man, no criminal history, nothing. They're in bed. They hear loud banging sounds, and Kenneth Walker, and his girlfriend Breonna Taylor, they called out. According to Walker's account, they started asking who's there based on the banging that they heard at the door. Walker thinks it's his girlfriend Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend coming to the apartment to break in. Um, Once the police they break the door off the hinges, Kenneth Walker fires one shot, and we already have Candice Colucci. They won't even have to allege they were in fear of their life. They only have to be driving from a mob, which is defined how this is okay. So that's in reference to the proposed legislation. I know Candice Colucci. She's gonna come in on with me on Thursday. We're gonna do a real thorough, substantive discussion on Breonna Taylor. As there's more facts and reports coming out even today. So Walker fires one shot. It hits Sergeant Mattingly in the leg, and Mattingly fires back 6 shots. 5 hit Breonna Taylor. Detective Brett Hankinson. There was 3 officers. He's one of them. He's the one that was indicted because he shot into Breonna Taylor's sliding glass door and a window, which were covered with blinds, and it was a violation of departmental policy. The police were required to have a line of sight before shooting, and so he's been indicted. He's pled not guilty, as reports came out today, for wanton endangerment. Um, the interesting thing is the indictment came down because of the shots that went into a neighbor's apartment, not Breonna Taylor's. That to me is interesting, and I question whether that is because they don't want there to be liability for her death because the shots went into that apartment. Now he didn't get charged with her death because of I'm going to get into that shortly with the Washington Post article, because the ballistics don't match. The bullets that came out of his gun have not been linked to any of the bullets that she received. So that is why. um Here's another point that's very concerning. There was an ambulance by her apartment, which is standard because when you do a no knock, something bad can happen, such as what happened. And so there's an ambulance right there nearby to immediately jump in to render aid. So these officers, they tell the ambulance to leave an hour before they were going to do the raid. Very concerning. So according to Kenneth Walker, Brianna's boyfriend, he says that for 5 minutes she struggled, coughing, um, after she was shot, and police had to then call the ambulance back to the scene, and they struggled to render aid to Mattingly, who had received a bullet to his leg. Um, and so Taylor didn't get any aid. She was there lying for about 20 minutes. She didn't receive any aid. That's a problem. May 2020, Louisville bans no knock warrants. No more. June, Hankinson, the one who fired in violation of the departmental policy of shooting blindly, uh, he was fired. So in September this month, there was a $12 million settlement. In this case, and Sergeant Mattingly and Cosgrove, the other two, they are on administrative reassignment. Any commentary thus far that you'd like to present before I touch upon some of these incredible points by the Washington Post, Michelle?
It's all a disgusting disgrace among our police departments across the United States. That this just puts me, what happened to Breonna Taylor put me in the mind of what happened to Lavonia Riggins here in Hillsborough County. SWAT team member Caleb Johnson shot into his mother's home where there were vertical blinds at the window, and he shot him with a high powerful rifle, an AR-13, one shot to the head, and left this young man's brain splattered all over the walls and the flooring. So I can only imagine what Breonna's Taylor boyfriend went through and what he had to witness. If the police see, this is the thing across America, Haiti, when it comes to blacks being uh under arrest and warrants are being put out for their arrest, and the police officers get there, it's always some form of a sneak attack. But where is the morality in this? Where, you know what I'm saying? Even though it probably was a no announce, you know what I'm saying, warrant, you didn't have to announce yourself. But at some point, where does morals come in at this? Where do morals come in at? If you got a house surrounded with SWAT team members and you got a house surrounded with police officers in bulletproof vests and all of this riot gear that they sometimes come out in, and then all of a sudden now you sneak in not knowing what a party has. Breonna Taylor did not have to lose her life. Breonna Taylor did not have to lose her life. And it saddens me that every 28 hours in America, according to the FBI, every 28 hours in America, a police officer is shooting and murdering an unarmed black. Breonna Taylor was not armed with a gun. Her boyfriend may have had an assault weapon inside the apartment of the home, but Breonna Taylor was innocent. She didn't have one. This is all disgusting to me. This is, you know what I'm saying? And I just don't know. God says that if your brother commits a crime or offends you, turn the other cheek. Well, guess what? We not turned the right cheek. We not turned the left cheek. We not turned the right cheek again. We not turned the left cheek again. Blacks don't have any more cheeks to give, and I don't even have any more fucks to give. I said what I said.
You did. And so let's I'm gonna read some of this. This is good stuff. The Washington Post, 4 days ago it came out. This is Radley Balco, really well written article. A Wednesday's announcement from Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron about criminal charges in the Breonna Taylor case set off a frenzy of misinformation on social media. Based on what we do know, which I've culled from my own reporting from the New York Times and the Louisville Courier Journal, as well as from conversations with the lawyers for Taylor's family, the decision to charge Detective Brett Hankinson with wanton endangerment was probably correct, as was the decision not to charge the other officers involved in the shooting. If ballistics had conclusively shown that one of the bullets from Hankinson's gun killed Taylor, he could be charged with reckless homicide. But according to Cameron, the bullets that struck Taylor could not be matched to Hankinson's gun. There's the problem that the police who conducted the raid were relying on a warrant procured by another officer. So the warrant that they served, they didn't even get that warrant. It was another officer. They were just serving it, which was then signed by a judge. And we're going to talk about that, folks, because we have to have oversight and kind of look to see what our local judges are doing. When do they rubber stamp warrants? Okay. Or are they because judges can't get sued. So we have to, when there's sloppy work from judges or whomever, we got to put this out to the public because in Florida, they get elected. They get elected. So if they're not going to be very extra careful, like if the warrant that they're signing is going to be served on one of their loved ones, like that, they should look at it like that. It make absolutely sure that everything is correct. And there has to be reform. There has to be reform. Even maybe judges getting sued. Huh? Is that too like alien that such a concept of judges getting sued when they're not careful about what they sign? Because it's somebody's life that they can't be brought back. The person can't be brought back. And officers too losing immunity, qualified immunity when they screw up and when they do things that ends in the avoidable, tragic, unnecessary killing of a person. So, but not illegal should not mean immune from criticism. Part of the problem was Cameron himself. Then we're talking about the AG, who was selective in what information he released to the point of misleading the public about key facts in the case. This raises real questions about whether the grand jury was also misled. That's why an attorney for Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, who fired at the police during the raid, is demanding that Cameron release the evidence that was presented to the grand jury. We need the public needs to say that all the evidence needs to be released, the transcripts to the grand jury, and all the evidence in that case needs to be released. Furthermore, Taylor's death was not, as Cameron suggested, simply a tragedy for which no one is to blame. The police work in this case was sloppy, and the warrant service was reckless. Taylor is dead because of a cascade of errors, bad judgment, and dereliction of duty. And it's important that the record on this be clear. So here are some correctives for the misinformation I've seen online. This is the reporter saying, "Look, this has been said in the news, during reports, during social media, and we have to make sure that we get the truth, that we get facts, because you know what, when we get something that's misinformation, that's wrong, and the public will react to it. If they think that something happened that's um with what and they're getting bad information, that can trigger emotional reactions that then lead to protest." um One of the correctives, the Washington Post says, this was not a no knock warrant. There were reports, and I read them in doing my research, that it was a knock and announce. The officers even said it was initially a no knock, but then it was converted into a knock and announce before we served it. Okay. He's saying that's one of the correctives. People are saying, no, it wasn't a no knock. It was a knock and announce. He says, no, it absolutely was a no knock. It says so right on the warrant. Moreover, the portion of the warrant authorizing a no knock entry cited only cut and pasted information from the 4 other warrants that were part of the same investigation. This is a violation of a requirement set by the Supreme Court that no knock warrants should be granted when police can present evidence that a particular suspect is a risk to shoot at police or destroy evidence if they knock and announce. They did not do that. The police claimed they were told after the fact to disregard the no knock portion and instead knock and announce with
Again,
battering ram.
police officers is doing whatever they want to do.
Why still, the Washington Post asked, why still serve the warrant in the middle of the night? Okay. The second corrective, the police knocked and announced themselves, and a witness heard them. Now there's a witness that's coming on, the sole witness that was presented to the grand jury. There's information. Go Google it. Breonna Taylor. Look to the news tab on Google. You'll see it. The witness is saying he first said that he did hear them announce. The second time he was interviewed, he said he heard it, and now he's saying no. So, and that's the sole information. I mean, the lawyers had interviewed neighbors, about 11. I think the New York Times another 11, dozens. And so most of them said they didn't hear any announcing. And that's huge. That's huge because think about it. If they're supposed to announce, okay, as they're claiming, there's a dispute. Walker saying he heard nothing. Breonna didn't hear police. They thought they're hearing banging and they're thinking, we got to protect ourselves. I mean, you have a right to defend yourself. This young man had a permit. And so if he didn't hear that and there's a dispute about that and they didn't announce themselves, that's a problem. It was in what was probably the most frustrating part of Cameron's press event. He cited a single witness who claimed to have heard the officers identify themselves as police. I spoke with Taylor's lawyers in June, who at that time had interviewed 11 of her neighbors. Many lived in the same apartment building as Taylor. According to the lawyers, no neighbor heard an announcement. The New York Times interviewed 12 neighbors. They found just one, who heard an announcement, and he only heard the one announcement. He also told the paper that with all the commotion, it's entirely possible that Walker and Taylor didn't hear that announcement. Cameron neglected to mention any of this. Moreover, in a CNN interview Wednesday night, Walker's attorney, Stephen Romine, said the witness to whom Cameron was referring initially said he did not hear the police announce themselves. And he repeated that assertion in a second interview. It was only after his third interview that he finally said he heard an announcement. That's critical context that Cameron neglected to mention. This is the AG that's not saying this during his press uh, event on why the decision was made not to indict the officers for her death. Um, I'm gonna not go through the whole thing. We have 15 minutes left. This is a great article. It's was published September 24th, 2020, correcting the misinformation about Breonna Taylor, the Washington Post, September 24th. This is one that I do want to um oh, here's an interesting thing. Jamarcus Glover, you know that her ex-boyfriend who she severed ties with, who they were investigating, who they thought was delivering packages. You know that they gave him a deal to reduce charges if he only named Breonna Taylor as a participant in conspiracy. And you know what you know what?
Again, no, again.
Incredible.
You just proved a theory in a status update that I said that blacks are the only people who are murdered and then have to defend their character after they are murdered.
That's a big somebody wrote in an editorial, a piece, and she said that this was wrong on so many levels. She's criticizing the Washington Post, but it added to the blaming the victim mentality. That's wrong. That happens a lot when police do something and they want to then look in to see if they had prior charges. They want to demonize the victim.
That only
And
happens.
about the company black women keep. You know, she went on, and I'm gonna show a picture. She was doing good. She was an emergency technician in the hospital, and there she is behind me there. So she was doing good, and she and her boyfriend too. Um, but you know what? Her ex boyfriend Glover, he would have gotten a good deal. He rejected it. He didn't. He said no. He was not going to implicate her. So good for him. This is the one thing that I do want to, because we all have to be on our A game, every single one of us, and the judges too. I don't care if you can't get sued. We're gonna put out any problematic search warrant that sloppily just appears to be rubber stamped. We're gonna put it out here on Florida You Judge. So when election time comes, we can tell a little bit about sloppy work that led to somebody's death. Um, the judge who signed the warrant is not to blame. That's a corrective the Washington Post wanted to address. The warrant in this case was signed by Louisville Circuit Judge Mary Shaw. In an op-ed in the Courier Journal, one of Shaw's fellow judges defended accusations that she had rubber-stamped the warrant. Judge Charles Cunningham wrote that affidavits are excruciatingly detailed, said Shaw scrupulously reviews search warrant affidavits, and said the accusation from an attorney for Taylor's family that Shaw took only 12 minutes to review the 5 warrants in the investigation was riddled with falsehoods and misstatements. Here's what we can say. This is the Washington Post. The portion of the warrant affidavit that requested a no-knock raid was the exact same language used in the other 4 warrants. It stated that drug dealers are dangerous and might dispose of evidence if police knock and announce. It contained no particularized information as to why Taylor herself was dangerous or presented such a threat, and that, according to the Supreme Court, is not sufficient to grant a no-knock warrant. Yet Shaw granted it anyways. Perhaps
Just a second interrupting you because
no, go ahead, say your thing.
because this is my spill. Livonia Riggins, right here in Hillsborough County, Florida. I was there with the family, holding the mother's hand, the adopted mother's hand, holding his adopted sisters and brothers' hands throughout this whole thing. Haiti, the warrant said that Livonia Riggins had all of these drugs and weapons inside his adopted mother's house. I have a copy of that warrant. I'm going to give you the copy after we finish this show, so it can be put on Florida You Judge archives. That warrant was rubber stamped. After a SWAT team member, Caleb Johnson, assassinated Livonia Riggins with one shot to the brain, to the frontal lobe of this young man's head, where he bled out and died. And I have every picture of them cleaning up. The SWAT team, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office cleanup team, they came in, they broke up the tile, they removed the rug, they replaced the window, they replaced the door, they even painted the wall in Livonia Riggins' room. All of this is on the photos in my archives, on my social media, and they're not going anywhere. They have been printed out. That warrant that they obtained was a lie, because after the detectives came and they tore up his adopted mother's home, there were no drugs, not even an ounce of marijuana, a blunt, a roach. There was no cocaine. There was no crack like was alleged in this warrant. And there certainly was not one gun in that house. They took this tip to obtain this false warrant from a snitch who lived in Green Ridge that said that Livonia Riggins was some big-time drug dealer, and he wasn't.
No, after they went into Breonna Taylor's, they found no drugs at all. None. No drugs. Nothing illegal. So it goes on to say, perhaps, talking about the judge again, Mary Shaw, perhaps she provided more scrutiny to the other parts of the affidavit, but she did not ask for more evidence in the no-knock portion, and she should have. The only possible defense, and this is problematic, and this is true, and you know what? None of that. You come and you say, oh, vote for me. I want to be judge. Please tell your friends. Put me on your show. Or to you, Michelle, campaign. We're going to scrutinize work. In these cases where somebody dies, yeah, we're going to look at those warrants. We're going to publish them. We're going to do a public records request, grab it from the clerk system and publish it. So be careful, because it's on you. How about Jason Westcott? We have a CI that said there's all these drugs in his house, right? They go in, shoot him, right? He's dead. Young man in his 20s. And what did they find? $2 worth of pot. And he's dead. And then the CI, what did he say? No, I lied. And we know that's very risky to do that. To admit I lied. We know what happens to narcs out in the street. And he said, yeah, I lied. He was probably conscience panged, overwhelmed with grief. That's something that he said, because he said that he was told to say that. Jane Castor, who initially said, oh, he's very reliable CI he is. As soon as he turned around his story and said, no, I was told to say something so that it could go into the search warrant. Oh, he's a liar. He's a liar. This is problematic. The only possible...
This is the same Jane Castor who burdened blacks without a benefit for riding their bikes in Tampa.
The war on drugs has casualties, lots of them. We have to, people that, this woman right here in back of me, Breonna Taylor right here, she shouldn't have died. This was preventable. The only possible defense of Shah here is that, as regular readers of this page know, judges seem to grant no-knocks when they aren't merited and in defiance of Supreme Court precedent with regularity. And there's no harm done if the no-knock position of the warrant is illegal, because the same Supreme Court has said the exclusionary rule doesn't apply. And that is precisely the problem. Folks, pay attention. Pay attention, because you know what? When it doesn't visit your home or it doesn't impact you, then it's not a problem. But one day it could. Breonna Taylor represents any of us at any time. And so we have to pay attention to who is serving on the bench, who are our politicians, our leaders, and we have to require and demand change. This can't continue.
It's a sad reality that we are still, that blacks, browns, and poor whites are facing in this country. It saddens me that we even have to commentate, and we have to even put out program shows like we're doing this evening. What's even more disgraceful and saddening is that the white nationalists, the white supremacists, the KKK, the Nazis, how everyone is angry because they're saying that Black Lives Matter. Now, we all know what the 13th Amendment says about Blacks. If you're arrested, they have the right to treat you like a slave. They have the right to do so many things under this Constitution. If America is ever to move forward and to progressively move forward, America must start addressing her dirty deeds. If we are to ever to live one nation under God, we better start addressing the issues that are plaguing Blacks. Blacks are disenfranchised when it comes to job employment, predatory loaning, economic deprivement from our neighborhoods and our schools, our educational system, 29 failing schools in Hillsborough County because the money is taken away from us when Blacks in East Tampa pay their home ownership taxes, but yet the taxes from the millage, the property appraisers is not reaching the Black schools. We have these issues. We have another issue that we must face, and we must be truthful about it, that we must understand that just because a Black person is a Black person doesn't mean that that Black person represents a Black person, because
Thank you.
not all Blacks are willing to represent Blacks. We have a lot of selfish leaders who are in it just to line their pockets, to hobnob with the white elite. And this is a problem that I have. A lot of people do not understand. Before I became a convicted felon, honey, I'm a registered Republican, and I am a progressor. I will force you to move your behind forward. I'm not gonna let you sit on welfare. We're gonna get out and we're gonna create entrepreneurship, and we're gonna create jobs, and we're gonna create wealth. You have to understand, charity begins at home. This message that I'm spilling tonight on For the You Judge is nothing new to all of my fans and followers. Those 25,000 something followers that follow me on social media, this is nothing new. I've done videos that have reached 1.8 million views about the same issue. Get up off your behinds and do something. Stop sitting around waiting for somebody to hand you something. I am not for this party of the Democrats. I'm not for this party of the Democrats making Blacks, poor whites, and brown people to become desolate beggars of a welfare system. With all of the job creation that we have in America, you mean to tell me that we still have public housing? Why can't we have home ownership? There is another issue that we must address: redlining in America. Redlining comes through our homes, the neighborhoods that Blacks and browns and whites or poor whites are able to live in. You know, it's just a problem that the white elite doesn't seem to want to deal with. But again, if we are to progressively move America forward, these are issues that we must start addressing. We
Michelle,
have, we
answer
have to do
answer
something.
answer Bot Jay's question. Do you think there's actual Nazis in the US?
Yes, I do.
And so do I. Of
Yes,
course.
I do.
There are
Yes, I
people that
do.
have that are racist for sure.
Yes, I
Um
do.
I want you to continue. Let me just real quickly, I want to share this so that you all can follow up and do your own research on Breonna Taylor. These are recent headlines. Breonna Taylor shooting, body cam footage apparently shows Louisville officers violating policies. Former Louisville police officer pleads not guilty to charges. Grand juror files suit seeking release of transcript. We got a call for the transcript to be released. Um, so on and on and on. Just it's developing. It's not over. So this is a case that we have to continue to follow and demand that all the truth be put out so that true justice could be obtained. Michelle, we are at our last minute. This was a very good discussion, I believe. And do you have anything last words that we can leave the viewers with? Let's continue to bring attention, have get into good trouble, like John Lewis said. Um, we have to continue to preserve the rights that we have. Fight. There's always going to be um people with a wrong heart and mind that have hate in their heart. But let's have love, and let's fight the good fight, and fight it honorably, honorably, because we don't want violence. We don't want people to get hurt. That's not what we want. But we do want change in the law. We want to select good people in office that have integrity, that are going to do right by we the people, and just remain informed, and make sure also that the media, and when we're out researching, that we get truth and not misinformation, because that's not good. Michelle, I'm gonna let you wrap up.
Thank you so much. Again, I want to thank all of the viewers, all of my fans, all of my followers, to each of you this evening who thought enough of myself and Haiti to come on and follow Florida You Judge. There was a question, a chat in the chat room by Isha. She was talking about the ship money that is supposed to sponsor home ownership. Isha, I will definitely get back with you on that, because I'm very well aware of the ship program. And I want to thank Miss Harriet Walton from watching us all the way from Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much. There
Yes.
she is. Yes, she has a huge radio program in Seattle, Washington, where it's on syndicated radio, and she phoned me today, Haiti, and said that she was going to be tuned in to listen. So we're going to be on her
Hi,
show.
Harriet.
We're going to be on her show next Monday, Haiti. So I'm looking forward to her show being on there, because, it's just that, we have to build a bridge. We have to connect the dots in the United States, where our activism and where our voices need to be heard. So I'm so thankful to everyone for taking the time out their evening schedule to stay tuned. I want to thank Gary Dolgen for putting his input in with some good information and some facts about some things
Thank you,
happening here.
Gary.
Yeah, I just want to thank him and thank everybody who responded. Haiti and I will take the time to respond to each of the comments, as we do after we commentate. And again, Haiti, thank you again for
Always. Yes.
affording me this opportunity. And you guys can stay tuned, because Haiti and I, I was kind of on the fence about a little bit of things, but I guess I'll go ahead and leak the sneak. Haiti and I are going to be putting together a Saturday show. So we're going to be commentating once a week now. So you guys are going to be hearing from us. You know what I'm saying? Definitely 4 times a week, but you're definitely going to be hearing the real truth here, where we're going to commentate the news, where, where we bring it a spade a spade. But if we are to progressively move forward, we must connect the dots. And guess what? We are the world. We are the children. We're the ones that will make the brighter day.
That's
So
true.
let's stop the foolishness. Let's stop the
And
foolishness.
on Thursday at 5 o'clock, Candice Colucci, I hope you join us, Michelle, if you can. She's gonna do an analysis. She does civil law as well, practices in the civil realm. So she's gonna come on at 5 this Thursday. But again, thank you. It's gonna be fun to join you, Michelle, every Saturday in the morning to provide commentary to recent headlines.
Yes.
And again, Haiti Oropesa with Florida You Judge. God bless you. Have a great evening, and let's love one another and get into some good trouble.